Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. Sunday night, it was one of those days. Wow, I was sitting there about lunchtime, I think it was. I got off a group chat. I was speaking to the missus, and I was like, you know what? I'm going away this week for a few days. I'm keen to get on top. I'm so behind on posts and things like that for the page. So I was really looking forward to sitting down for about 4 or 5 hours, doing some solid posts, getting up to date with a lot of these things. And then I literally sat down with my lunch to just start to go quickly, have some lunch, get into that, and then I'll move on. And then all of a sudden, Code Sports, I get this notification, breaking news, Payne Haas to the Rabbitohs, and I thought, are you kidding me? So that has basically changed all of our plans for the rest of the afternoon, which has been unreal, to be fair, from a content point of view. It has had the social media world buzzing. Everyone at pages and that have been through the roof, no doubt about that. And I quickly messaged Isaac and I said, mate, we were already talking about when to do one this week. We were looking at probably Tuesday night or something like that. And I go, mate, this is massive. We probably should get on and try and do something. He had already booked himself in for something, unfortunately. I was like, crap, I'm going to have to come on here and do this solo, and everyone will be bored out of their brains listening to me rabble on. But he then actually, an hour or two later, goes, look, it's fallen through. Let's rip in. So here we are. Massive news, Isaac, to start with. Payne Haas, 3-year deal, South Sydney Rabbitohs from next year. The reported figure at the moment is about that $1.2 million mark. Talk to us. Let's just get initial reaction firstly. I'm not even going to ask you how you are this time because it's just that much to talk about here and it's buzzing. What's the initial reactions here? What's the go with what you know of this deal so far?
Yeah, first of all, still in shock. I'm literally still in shock that Payne Haas has made that switch. Like you, it was just a normal Sunday, and I found myself when I found out about the news, I was pacing my room for about 40 minutes staring at my phone. And I'm not even exaggerating. I was just, absolutely blown away, still am. Now, this move is it's a real interesting one. Now, I think a lot of the reaction is kind of how out of nowhere this news has come. And while it does seem that way, from my understanding, this has been somewhat in motion for at least a little while, around a month maybe.
Hold on one sec. I've got to stop you. You're sounding a lot like R2D2. I think whatever internet you're doing, switch over to the other one again. I'll quickly talk for a little bit while you do that. I'm just going to save you here because there'll be some going, what's happened? What's happened to Isaac? He's the big star now. I don't want this to reflect badly on you at all. I just wanted to let you know and
can't afford good internet
to fix up if you possibly can.
Yeah.
He'll be okay. He'll switch over now, guys. I'll just quickly. So there's a few big, obviously, talking points and avenues to go down with this one. And firstly, I guess that the big talking point is the South Sydney effect and what this does for South Sydney. It automatically puts them into a humongous premiership window. There is no doubt about that. It is immediate. I'm personally so excited to see this forward pack. I put up a post today. This is the forward pack we're talking about for next year, so from 2027. Arrow and Haas, your front rowers. Brandon Smith at 9, or it could be Mamazelos by then. Fafita, Duncan, your back rowers. And Cam Murray will lock things in place there. That is an absolute star-studded forward pack. I know, Isaac, we've spoken off air. I think you're back now because your quality looks a lot better already on your camera. So we spoke a little bit off air. There's a part of this that we'll get to shortly, but this pack on paper for the Rabbits, and this is just humongous. This signing is humongous.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm back. I'm better than ever. Hopefully sounding a little bit better as well. I've already got a bit of an annoying voice. I don't need it getting any worse. So I'm glad you can hear me okay. Let me know. Flag me if I start glitching again. But yeah, no. So this deal, it's monumental in the world of rugby league and in the history of rugby league, really. So yeah, he's looking at a $1.2 million per year deal over 3 years. So it'll take him through to 2029. Now, as you already mentioned, he's going to be alongside a stack of stars, especially in the forwards. Now, from my understanding, the South Sydney Rabbitohs letting Keon Kolomatangi walk towards the back end of 2025 had a little bit to do with this signing, which is absolutely crazy to think about that it's been under wraps for this long. But I received mail that at the time the Rabbitohs weren't going too hard on Keon with the intention of signing either Tino Fa'asuamaleaui or Payne Haas. Now, obviously, Tino re-signed with the Gold Coast Titans just last week, which opened the door for this Payne Haas move. And I think, if we're being honest, you want Payne Haas anyway. So that's opened the door for him to make his way down to Sydney. Now, I believe he was a South Sydney Rabbitohs fan growing up, and he's obviously got quite close ties to Wayne Bennett. But interestingly enough, the main culprit behind this move for Payne Haas was actually Latrell Mitchell and David Fifita, both of whom reportedly played a major role in recruiting him to the club and getting him over there. Now, it's worth noting that the Brisbane Broncos were actually quite confident that he would extend with the club and were planning to ink a 1-year extension for him following the World Club Challenge, which is over the next couple of weeks. That's completely fallen through now. He is going to be a South Sydney Rabbitoh. The Brisbane Broncos have come out. They have confirmed that he intends to leave the club at the end of 2026, which has somewhat of a domino effect on one of his teammates, which we'll kind of get to in a sec. But this is essentially a premiership or bust season now for the Brisbane Broncos with him leaving, and has opened a massive premiership window for the South Sydney Rabbitohs over the next half decade.
So Code Sports is reporting it basically was 4 words that Payne Haas spoke about that basically had him onto South. The fact that he said, "I need a change." This has sort of been in the woodworks for a while. If you start to look back at things, and remember a couple of years ago when the Broncos supporters were actually like booing him for a while there and things like that because of stuff that was up in the air. He's had he's off the field, I guess, life and what's happening there is just something you wouldn't wish upon your worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone through a lot. I don't think anyone begrudges him for what he's chosen here, but like you said, it has felt like it has surprised the Broncos a lot. It surprised basically the whole of the rugby league world. The fact that no one has heard about this or there was any rumours about this, firstly, I actually want to applaud South Sydney and the management and things like that for Payne for this, because I guarantee if this was any other club, this would be leaked for sure. Like this is one of those ones that it would have to be leaked. The fact that there wasn't anything really special. I know what you're mentioning earlier, there was sort of some murmurs around, but normally there's some quite concrete evidence, and posts will get out. It'll get out of hand. But the fact that this was kept under wraps like it was, I think is a huge plus to everyone involved, and it should show. I think it's a confidence booster for South Sydney management, who, let's be fair, they've been quite poor for a while now. They've made some pretty horrendous decisions, and they've rightly so had a lot of question marks. But this is a huge tick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the main contributors behind that is one of the greatest coaches of all time in Wayne Bennett. Now, I've been a culprit in, I guess, being somewhat short-sighted and somewhat blinded by the Rabbitohs' recent kind of struggles. And I was one of those people who thought, okay, is Wayne Bennett starting to lose a bit of his shine? Is he potentially just, like he's getting up there and he's been around for so long, and it's hard for a coach to stay up for this long. And I fear that he's potentially lost a bit of his shine, a bit of what made Wayne Bennett, and that we were going to see somewhat of a downward trajectory from a recruitment and retention side of things, coming from Wayne Bennett. He has completely proven me wrong and shown once again why he is considered, if not the greatest coach of all time, top 3 easily. Absolutely insane. And it's interesting because it's actually the 3rd time that Wayne Bennett has actually secured the services of Payne Haas. If you remember a few years ago, or it was quite a while ago now, Payne Haas, I believe, was thinking of going to the Storm, and Bennett convinced him to essentially stay with the Brisbane Broncos. Obviously, he's extended it since then, and now he's gotten him over at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Hats off to Wayne Bennett, because, yeah, as you said, majority of other clubs probably would have this leak. even if not from the higher ups or from player agents, even from just staff members at the club. Like you look at, for example, I think back to a few years ago when Viliame Kikau was signing with the Canterbury Basin Bulldogs, and a random staff member just happened to snap a photo and get it to the social media. There's very few clubs that can keep such a tight knit organization and run of things. And the South Sydney Rabbitohs have proven that they can kind of keep their mouths shut until the time comes. And I'm absolutely, it's extremely exciting for South Sydney Rabbitohs fans to know that their club is operating under such a professional policies and landscape. So no, very exciting for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Not so much for the Brisbane Broncos, who have lost one of the greatest players in Broncos history. And look, speaking of one of the best players, they're going to lose another one as well, which is just, it's such a shame for the Brisbane Broncos.
I'll go as far as I think they've just lost the best prop we've ever seen play the game. That's how much I rate Payne Haas. Which leads me to the question to you I want to ask you is this the biggest NRL signing that you've ever seen?
Yeah, look, I went back and forth on this all day today. I think that realistically, looking at it in a vacuum, not only just NRL but sports in general, it's one of the biggest transfers in sports history. When you look at it from a vacuum, and to my NBA fans out there, I put a little GIF in the comments of one of my Payne Haas posts. The Luka Doncic trade to the Lakers last year. Obviously Ronaldo's big moves over in the soccer. Like there's been some really big transfers, and Payne Haas is definitely up there. Now, looking at biggest signing of all time, it's probably up there. You've obviously got transfers like Greg Inglis to South, 2 decades ago, maybe a little bit less. You've got some big transactions, but this is, if we were talking about Keon Koloamatangi potentially being the biggest marquee recruit that the Dragons have ever gotten, then you've got to think that Payne Haas is definitely up there. Now, is it the best signing? We don't know yet, but biggest, it's definitely up there. I want to say yes. Now, footy nerds and historians, feel free to drop some that we might be forgetting. But to me, it's probably the biggest signing in NRL history.
I'm with you. I actually will declare I think it is the biggest signing that I've ever seen. And I've been supporting this NRL since it's basically been the NRL.
Yeah,
I'd get the Greg Inglis argument. The only thing I'll say back to the Greg Inglis part to some of those that have said it, and they've said it on the post and things like that, he was kind of had his hand forced, obviously with the salary cap drama, that they knew one or two of those big guns sort of had to go. So it was like, yes, South Sydney still had to sell a sort of a dream, but it felt like there was that already match made in sort of heaven type thing. This one has just felt like it's come from complete nowhere. And it feels like Haas is 26 years of age. He's still in his prime for a prop. He's the best prop, not just in the game currently, but like I just said before, I think he's the best prop to ever play our game. And the South Sydney Rabbitohs have just landed him in his prime. That is just...
Think about that as a imagine being a Rabbitohs fan today, knowing oh my God.
They were just gutted for the whole week after losing Keon and having that guaranteed. After thinking for a stage there were a good chance of re-signing him. And then they've gone, oh shit, what are we doing now with our middles? And hang on a second, we've got a little ace up our sleeves, guys. A guy called Payne Haas. That's just...
Well, I actually pose a question to you now, because this is something that I thought about today. Now, obviously this is the biggest signing, one of the biggest we've ever seen. You think it's the biggest. I ask, do you think... Now, I think it's probably widely accepted that the most impactful signing of this decade has been Stephen Crichton to the Bulldogs. I think majority would agree that's probably the most impactful. Do you think that Payne Haas will have a bigger impact on the South Sydney Rabbitohs than Stephen Crichton has had on the Canterbury Bulldogs?
I think it will be very, very similar. And why I say that, because I don't think Payne Haas has ever been that guy that we just sit there and think straight away he's a natural born leader. I think, though, with what he's gone through from a personal point of view, how much he's grown over the last few years, he's definitely developed into that guy where people will just look at him, players will look at him in the change room and go, okay, I need to turn up today. Like, I don't have an excuse to not, because I know that I've got Payne Haas leading the way and he'll just do what he does each and every week. The fact that Latrell Mitchell and Dave Fafita, who I think will be two of their better players this year and most influential. So I know Fafita's very new to him, but he already has that capabilities of being that guy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Were so instrumental in this happening. It has me thinking, because they're probably both two big leaders of that football club at the moment, especially Latrell. Whenever he says walk, they basically say how long for and when do we stop type thing. So I think it will be. I think it's maybe from a leadership point of view, Crichton might still have it just because he's just been so bloody good. We've actually seen how that's turned out, and just the leader, he's just incredible. But I think overall, he takes the signing cake because of just everything else we then put into it.
Yep.
Not saying Crichton's not bad at all. He's an absolute gun. He's one of the better signings when you put everything into the equation as well. I just think with everything we're thinking about here, I honestly, I can't believe. I'm actually so happy for the Bunnies. I haven't even once thought from my point of view, like, oh, damn, I wish my club signed. I've actually just been genuinely happy then.
At least you haven't, because I've been thinking all day, mate, if you're going to come to Sydney,
come to the Dogs.
Come to the Dogs. I've been gutted all day.
South Sydney fans, look, I'm jealous. I know you'll be walking around basically tomorrow with a belt wrapped around you because you won't be able to stand up straight, if you know what I'm trying to hint at there, guys.
Mate.
But look, I forgive you for taking a day off. I think tomorrow South Sydney fans deserve a day off work to just sit there and just watch Payne Haas highlights on repeat and do it in whatever state you want, because I don't blame you. But on the other side of the fence, mate, the Broncos, and you reported a bit earlier, are absolutely gutted, rightly so, and for a number of reasons. It seems like they've just lost, like we just said, the best prop of probably to ever do it. And they've had people like Sivan Seaver and Webkit at that club, Brad Thorne, the list goes on. They've still got Paddy Carrigan as well, who's an absolute gun. They've just won a premiership. They're odds on to do it again back to back this year, and there's not many out there that's going to write them off doing that. They've got pretty much exactly the same team. Now potentially got an even bigger case to do so, with a bit of a driving factor for Payne Haas and this playing group being together, one last ride type thing. But there's also that word, like you said, he apparently said to the leaders of that club, that the bosses that will speak after the World Cup Challenge, and then all of a sudden he signed with the Bunnies before the World Club Challenge has even started, before they've even gotten a plane. They have their club's season launch tomorrow. It's a weird time, mate.
It's wild. It's one of those things where it's like, and that's where it's like, it's interesting because he could have gotten this done at any point. And I wonder what the factors were that went into it that kind of caused him to make this decision now. Especially because I think that, like, maybe it was to give, the Broncos a little bit of time ahead of the season and didn't want to disrupt it too much. Maybe there was pressure with, other players in this side trying to decide what they want to do following the 2026 season. And speaking of that, obviously that has had a major impact on one of their most important players. We just heard, literally as we were hopping onto the podcast, that Brisbane Broncos skipper Adam Reynolds will be retiring after 2026. And far out, I would too if I was losing Payne Haas from my side. And we'll get into that properly. But this has ramifications that go beyond losing a good player. Like when we saw Keon, decide to switch from the Bunnies to the Dragons. That sucked for the Bunnies, but at no point were you like, this club is now in shambles. The Brisbane Broncos, who have been just up, and we're going even further to the point where we were considering their premiership window to be from now until 2033. That is now come in so much less because you've now lost Payne Haas. So I don't know what they do from here, realistically. I think that you just got to back your young ones, back who you've got, because there's no one really left for you to go out and poach. You've lost, I think that they could have been a good chance of getting Tino a few weeks ago, but this has completely taken the Broncos by surprise. They were set to extend him after the World Club Challenge, and they were confident that they were going to extend him. So, this has just left the club close to in shambles, and that's talking about the defending premiers of the NRL.
And it's funny because when you compare both sides who are impacted by this, the Rabbitohs, you look at it and you go, their pack is absolutely on fire next year, but there is question marks around their halves and how the spine fully shapes up with both Jai Gray and Brandon Smith sort of having years this year where they've got to establish themselves and to own their jerseys, same as Mamazelos there as well. But then you also look at their halves. Cody Walker might look at retiring or maybe one more year after this big signing. He gets to play off the back of hopefully a very front-footed, off the back of front foot because of obviously the forward pack there. But then you look at the Broncos and you all of a sudden you've got one of probably the best young spines in the competition over the next few years. Once Pezzett lands there next year, you've got you've got Reece Walsh, Mam, Pezzett, and then Moser will probably be the hooker by then as well. If not, Hunt might go one more just to make sure they've got someone there to steer the ship. You'd think so anyway. But going off the last 24 hours, it wouldn't surprise me tomorrow if Ben Hunt goes, I'm out of here as well, boys. I'm not sticking around getting bashed. But then you look at their forward pack for next year. I'm just thinking in my head, all of a sudden they've got like a top 3 or 4 forward pack at the moment. Next year, if I had to rank them now, I've got them down the bottom 4 on it. Like all of a sudden, just like a big loss all of a sudden. It's massive, and you make a huge valid point there. There's nothing on the market now. Like the big guns have basically been tied up, and then the rest of them, I would imagine there'll be very strong cases that PNG or Perth are going to strike with some huge dollars. That the Broncos, they'll have a little bit now, but I don't think they'll have as much as many will think because they've got a lot of like Ezra Mams extended, Walsh extended. Moser will have to extend shortly because he'll start to get a lot more first grade time. That young backline will have to start getting extended. Shibasaki will get extended because he's on that small sort of contract if they want to keep him. There's not as much room to wiggle there for the Broncos as I think many are thinking.
Well, if you have a look now, and I've actually just gotten it up at the players that now are off contract ahead of next year that can be signed for next year. You don't have too many elite forwards. Now, looking at the elite forwards, you probably have Tyson Frizzell, Hamlin ULA, Kamikamitha. You got Kamikamitha, Blake Laurie, Matthew Lodge, Mariota, Josh Papali'i, Junior Paulo, Toby Rudolph, Lindsay Smith.
Junior's not going anyway. Just heads up, guys. He'll retire.
You don't. There's not much going, and then if you look at the locks, like you've got Nathan Brown, Kalani Goings, a good player. Kurt Mann, it's not looking too good.
Can I just quickly rephrase? And I don't want to be too harsh, but it kind of have to be. There's basically dog shit on the market left. It's just not much. Sorry to say it out there, guys, but they're really I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
It's
go
not
from
looking
Payne
good.
Haas to one of those, or 2 of those, or 3 of those in Payne Haas's money. No.
Realistically, the best player that you probably got there that you're interested by is probably Junior Paulo and Lindsay Smith.
He won't go. Neither of those will go to Broncos for 1 year. It won't happen.
It's not, and that's why it's for next year. Regardless, they're in a bit of trouble next year in terms of their forward pack, and that's why they're. And it's a real shame, I guess, for Jonah Pezzett. And does he stay? Does he backflip? Because this is I don't think people realize the ramifications that this has on the trajectory. Now, to be fair, going into then the 2028 season, there is a little bit more on the market. But again, they're going to have to wait that extra year. So it's an interesting one. I think the Broncos will be okay in the long term, but for next year, it's not looking too good. And I'm close to saying they likely miss the 8 in 2027. Considering they're probably going to lose Ben Hunt, Adam Reynolds definitely, and Payne Haas definitely. It's a scary thought for the defending premiers for sure.
I think one thing for certain before we go on to the Adam Reynolds news that broke, like you said, as we went on to air, this has made for mine the Broncos a lot more dangerous this year. They literally have a lot of driving factors now. They've got 2 of their key players, or 2 of their best players as well, now leaving the club. I think they'll bandage together. I think Madge will absolutely love this as well. I know there'll be a lot of disappointment, but I think once it sort of wears off a little bit and they realise we've still got a massive job to do this year,
Yep.
Walsh already put a post up where he shared the news and said one more ride, basically. Like, I think already they're all starting to think, going, let's go back to back and see what happens. I just think it's made them so much more of a dangerous football team this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think take a look at the Penrith Panthers. I believe it was in 2023 or 4. They were losing quite a few players important. But I believe it was 24. They were going to lose Jerome Luai and James Fisher-Harris. Yeah. And to be fair, they were losing players every year. But they really banded together and they really knocked it out of the park in a sense. So I think that we're going to see a similar thing here. And you notice with the Penrith Panthers, every year they were losing players every year, and every year they had a motto that kind of, I guess, related to the situation that they were in. I think we're going to see a similar situation with the Brisbane Broncos in 2026. They're the favourites for me quite comfortably. And then I probably got the Penrith Panthers and Sydney Roosters, but they are definitely they're going to be hungry this year. They're going to want to send Adam Reynolds out with one more premiership, probably Ben Hunt too, if we're being honest, and Payne Haas, absolutely. And I think if we see, and just going back to Payne Haas before we get to Adam Reynolds, because there is a bit to unpack there. I think what we're going to see with Payne Haas, if he can win a premiership this year, and he's likely one of the greatest players of all time. If he can win a premiership with the Broncos and with the South Sydney Rabbitohs, we're having a conversation about him being the greatest player of all time. That's how much I rate Payne Haas. I think that if he can win a premiership this year or win a premiership with the Rabbitohs after having won with the Broncos, he could be the greatest player of all time. Probably got JT, Cameron Smith, Andrew Johns. He is right up there.
I'm absolutely with you, mate. I cannot rate and rave about Payne Haas more if I try. I think people are getting sick of it because I've just been riding him like one of those guys that just hang on to those bucking bulls. I'm not letting go. I'm holding on for all I can. So, Adam Reynolds, he's dropped the. You won't lie either. Let me just paint the picture. I was sent out the link and stuff, and as Isaac came on, I had my head down. I was starting to put the post out. He basically came on and goes, "Oh, sorry, I've just got it." And I cut him off. I go, "You don't even need to say it. I know exactly what you got to do as well." And we sat there for about the first 2 minutes in silence, getting it done. That's how literally new this is. So I don't know how much more back knowledge Isaac may have to me. I don't have any back knowledge. All I know is that Code Sports has reported. And it's the big dog. It's I've got a mind blank on his name who dropped it. The big Queensland reporter is the world famous one now. Don't worry about his name. Sorry, I can't give you the raps for it. But however, Adam Reynolds. Yes, there we go. Big Peter. So the man, the real MVP for Queensland media. Look,
is he Queenslander?
Well, he's based up here.
Oh, okay. There you go. Didn't know that.
That's why he's always at the Queensland club. So he's
didn't know that actually. There you
guy.
Go.
Maybe that might change now that they've lost Buzz and that. He might turn into just the guy, and he might move back to Sydney. Your position might be under threat.
Is it, mate? You can stay in Queensland. We've just got a Michael Chambers out of here. We've got Buzz out of here, mate. I'm trying to make my way up.
Just that ladder. He's just still climbing everyone. He's nothing's changed yet. We can't break anything for you. ESPN. No. You still have that actually. That was fantastic. But. I don't think no one's surprised. Like I sort of said to you off air, if anything, I was surprised this didn't happen after the grand final. Like, his body's clearly busted. He's obviously seen maybe this was decided before the Payne Haas news, but it's funny timing. It looks like from our view, he's looked at that and gone, I'm not playing my busted pack. I'm not doing that.
Well, mate, he's love Adam Reynolds, but he's fragile at the moment. He's getting up there. He's limped through the last couple seasons. I'm surprised he went to. You got to understand, especially for a small halfback like Adam Reynolds. I think that there's a quiet fear for halfbacks like that, especially at that age. There's a quiet fear for these players when they're not behind a strong forward pack. Playing behind Payne Haas would grant you a lot of security and safety. But playing on at that age with that kind of body, with that kind of stature, playing behind a weakened forward pack, it probably does incite a little bit of fear in you. And that's not to say anything about Adam Reynolds, heart or work ethic or grit or toughness. But realistically, he is getting up there in age. And I would say that the idea of playing behind anyone not named Payne Haas probably does concern him a little bit. And I don't blame him at all. So I would play in the NRL as a halfback if I knew I had Payne Haas in front of me. So no, I think this is directly correlated. Now he is, like I said, he was kind of talking about potentially going to another club or staying at the Broncos and kind of either battling it out or mentoring Jonah Pezzett. But he says that he is ready to hang up the boots, and it's going to be a real interesting one to see how he manages to get through this season. Because, as you said, I think that him going out on a ring at the end of 2025 would have been a great way. However, I think that if in saying that the Brisbane Broncos are the favourites for this year, so if he can go out on 2 rings or 3 rings in total, that says true things to his legacy. Because speaking of all-time halfbacks, I feel like we don't talk enough about Adam Reynolds being an all-time halfback. He's top 3 in scoring. He's now got 2 premierships, and he's one of the most influential halfbacks of our generation. So I think in his mind, the idea of leaving behind an even stronger legacy with 1 more year probably does excite him a little bit.
You know what I find really weird with that? Because I kind of agree with what you're saying there. I think he's very criminally underrated when you talk about all-time halfbacks, and he's achieved so much. But then the weird thing is, when I think about last year, the Broncos actually played and looked better when he wasn't on the field. So it's a really weird... and I know a lot of that was to do with Reece Walsh and how much he just stepped up. And even the grand final, it took Reynolds leaving the field injured type thing for Walsh to really grab the ball basically and just go into what he was the back end of that year. So it's a really weird one. It's so like how much of the recent form impacts when you think about Reynolds and what sort of legacy he leaves. I hope it's not much, because I think if any, you can probably respect the fact that he probably knows deep down his body's shot, but he's pushing to the absolute limit. He absolutely loves Brisbane by everything I've heard, and anytime he talks about it. He loves the Broncos now. He actually feels like he's a Bronco. He feels like that's his club. He genuinely wants to stay up here as well post-retirement. He wants to be involved with coaching and things like he's really much brought into the DNA, which I love, because obviously the backstory with him and South, and that probably impacted him a lot. But to turn around and do what he's done now, I think is remarkable for him. So I hope it doesn't tarnish his legacy too much if he does, like he plays this year. And he might, let's just say, he only might play 12 to 14 games, let's say. But it's also the best time. And like I said, Pezzett is hopefully going for the Broncos' sake next year. Great time to leave. They might have Hunt stay on. They might not. Who knows? But it all works out quite well. But it's just a massive, it was within 6 hours of both news pieces of news today. Huge shockwaves for Broncos. I've already had Broncos pages and fans messaging me going, "What have you done to us today? What's going on? What is happening?" And shout out to old Beak down in camp, who's just done a few videos out. He's tears out for down in camp. He's feeling the pinch. And but all in all, mate, they are riding high. There is that sort of talking point out there, will this impact him? But like we both said, we don't think so. It should drive him, if anything. But there is that we've seen it in the past where it does impact it negatively, a playing group. So that is a possibility as well that some fans might have to prepare themselves for. That they've just gone from yesterday, if you spoke about the Broncos, you're right up there with them, where all of a sudden you might be going, oh, maybe some players are put off by this, because like you said, he mentioned to the club and probably the boys, especially from Payne Haas's point of view, let's tackle the World Club Challenge, and then I'll decide by that. So they're thinking, yeah, sweet, let's go away. Now they go to the season launch tomorrow. They go on a plane with a guy that's already signed elsewhere. It could be a little interesting story point, and I think it's something we'll be talking about a lot during the season.
Yeah, and look, there is every chance as well that I guess maybe Adam Reynolds is helping Payne Haas maybe soften the blow a little bit, saying, "Hey, it's okay, I'm leaving too. Don't."
Captain, real captain.
Yeah, he's a real captain to the end. No, absolutely. I think that it's probably the best time for Adam Reynolds, and as you said, he loves it over in Brisbane, and this is a New South Wales Welshman. You'd expect him to really want to, I guess, embrace what Sydney has been for him, but he really does love it over in Brisbane. He said he feels more like a Bronco than he does a Rabbitoh. So I'd really like to see him stay on. Perhaps as maybe a halves coach, still mentoring Jonah Pezzett. I can't see Ben Hunt playing beyond this year. He said how grueling this off season has been for him. But look, it's going to be interesting, I guess, because you were always kind of looking at that young core or youngish core of Payne Haas, Ezra Mem, Jonah Pezzett, Reece Walsh, and Blake Moser. I'll be interested to see how that kind of goes. One factor, and kind of reverting back to the Payne Haas thing, because I feel like we haven't really, or a lot of people haven't really, I guess, taken this into consideration. I'm really keen to see what comes of Paddy Carrigan moving forward. I think that we can see him obviously not get to Payne Haas levels, but near Tino Fasuamaleaui levels. Like, that's how Paddy Carrigan is. Like, I feel like we're forgetting about him and what a player that bloke is. He'll be the captain after Adam Reynolds retires, and it leaves Paddy Carrigan as the leader of that side. Not only now does he take on the role of captain, he also takes on the role of pack leader, and the big dog in that locker room. And like, you got to think, like, from an ego point of view, the fact that he's been able to put his ego aside and let Payne Haas be that, anyone would let Payne Haas be the pack leader. But, now he takes control of that pack and of that side in its entirety as a skipper. I think we're going to see just an explosion from Paddy Carrigan. And you're going to be talking about him, up there with Tino, up there with Cameron Murray. He's going to be up there with the best of the best, I think.
I've predicted him in our big season preview podcast that we brought out last week, guys. Go and check it out if you haven't already. About 3.5 hours of just absolute rugby league goddess. We just absolutely smashed it out of the park. It was just cinema content. But I predicted him to be the Broncos player of the year this year. I think, like you said, I mentioned as well, I think he's been completely forgotten about now because Walsh and Haas have been so good. He was still... What was that?
Who did win it this year?
Ooh.
Let me check. I'm interested to see, because I would have had him up there for sure. Continue. I'll get that up.
Yeah, I'm not too sure who got there. I'm guessing probably Payne Haas, just off the consistent year that he had last year for the Broncos. I reckon he
Payne Haas.
Yeah. There you go. So I just think
he's 6-1.
So this might be his last one, guys. He might leave on the 7th. So, but anyway, that's I think that's it from the Broncos. Should we move on from the Broncos?
Yeah, no more Broncos. Attention-seeking Broncos. Can't give us one day without a Broncos.
We'll be back Tuesday, guys. So 2 days away. Let's see if we actually bring up the Broncos again, because I'm going to predict the way this has been, there might be something else. I'm keeping an eye out.
Yeah, Reece Walsh is going to sign with the Bulldogs on Monday.
The last one we'll talk about tonight, and it was something that we were trying to get on during the week, but we just couldn't. We ran out of time. I was flat out. So was Isaac. Obviously, there was some stuff that's come out further with this Lomax case. Matt Tripp came out, the Melbourne, CEO or something, and spoke about a few things which definitely raised a lot of eyeballs. I'm not sure if he quite read the room properly there. And obviously he's trying to protect the Storm and the way they're being portrayed with this. But some of those comments were just a bit outlandish, if you ask me, mate. And I know people will probably say straight away the blue and gold glasses are on, stuff like that. Like, I've always been with this whole time, and I'm hoping you can back me up a little bit here. I've been about the game and what precedence this sort of sets for the game in general, and I don't like what potentially can happen if Lomax wins this court case. I think it's going to be a complete shit show. And I said this last time we spoke about this. Like, I'm obviously Parramatta. The only thing with me, and I've been the one thing I want to quickly say to everyone out there who sort of tried to come at me a little bit, few of the guys on the page that try and say stuff to me, being Melbourne Storm supporters. I am the first guy to criticise Parramatta for anything they do. I called out the club for almost 2 years straight for all the crap that they were doing constantly. I rode them hard, even in times when many were going, mate, you're being too harsh. Like, what are you doing type thing. I am the harshest critic of the Eels. But for once, and this is for once, for the first time I can see for a long time, since the Rolls appointment and decided to get things on board, they actually look like they're doing the right, like the whole way along here. It just has felt like to me the Eels have been in complete control and have been doing everything by the book. And that's all I can comment on. If they didn't, I'd call it out. But I can't see anything where so far, and Isaac can call out if he's seen something, where I've gone, why the hell did we do that? Like, it just feels like everything we've done for this situation has been by the book.
Yeah, and I understand, I guess, the criticism that would come with, the blue and gold glasses. But realistically, as someone who's got absolutely nothing to do with either club, and as someone who would love, I'd personally actually like to have, I wouldn't mind having Zac Lomax at my club. He's a great player. If I've done it, what's that? Sorry,
maybe not now after this.
Yeah, but he's a terrific player, and Peter V'landys has come out and said he's a terrific player, and you want him in the NRL, and fine, absolutely fine. I would be happy if Zac Lomax signed with my club. Granted, he kind of got things under control, but in saying that, the way that this is now they've gone about it is absolutely unprofessional. It's honestly, it's close to disgraceful, realistically, because not only are we, and we've harped on about this over the last few weeks, so I won't go too much into this side of things, but just quickly, the Eels have been forthcoming and honest and have essentially said, you can go to a different club, but you are under contract to us. We just expect decent compensation. Now, the Melbourne Storm apparently offered $200,000 to $300,000 transfer fee, which is ridiculous because Lachlan Galvin went for more. To the Bulldogs, and so many other players. Like, this is an Origin level star.
And money does nothing.
Yeah,
just quickly on that, because we are one of the wealthiest clubs in the NRL. We have a remarkable leagues club that does so well. The money doesn't go towards the cap or anything like that, so it doesn't actually benefit you from a footy club point of view, and it doesn't get you an extra $300,000 to go after, say, a Payne Haas or a Tino and say, oh, guys, we can give you this extra. Like, you don't get that. You're in the same salary cap as the Storm will be. It's just here's $200,000, which, to try and talk on our point of view, it's probably someone going to their glove box and just pulling out a bit of change and going, here you go. Like, it's just purely disrespectful.
Yeah, it's and at the end of the day, you're welcome to make your offers, but Parramatta Eels declined. They are well within their rights now. And I'm going to shift to this now because this has been a big talking point this week. Peter V'landys has come out and said that he backs Zac Lomax to return to the NRL and hopes that he can find his way back at a club and blah 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 blah. Peter V'landys. Now, I've actually been a big supporter of Peter V'landys since he was appointed however many years ago. I know a lot of people don't like him, don't like the way that he operates. I love Peter V'landys. I think he's done great things for the game. This is weak from Peter V'landys. Now, not weak in the sense that I've seen a lot of people attacking him personally and, making comments. He is a strong leader and he has done some really great things for the game. I think that this is weak from the standpoint that it almost muddies the waters of the precedent and policies that he's putting in place. That's what I mean by weak. Now, he came out and he said 10-year bans for anyone who negotiates with R360 or talks to them and blah, 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 right? Now, I'm not upset that he's not banning Zac Lomax at all. I get it. He's the star of the game. Fine. I think the issue comes where you're almost provoking the Eels by pushing him to return back straight away, and with this whole Melbourne Storm thing. And there was reports a few weeks ago that the NRL might intervene between negotiations with the Storm in the Eels in the favour of the Storm, which is super disappointing. Now, again, there's 16 other clubs that Zac Lomax can join, and the Eels have come out and, they have said that he can join any other club. Now, this is coming from a Bulldog supporter who, frankly, I don't really like the Eels. I'm not I have got no loyalty towards the Eels as a Bulldog supporter, but as a as a fan of the NRL game, as of the NRL and what we do, and realistically, there's fair and there's unfair. Now, for 98% of rugby league fans to unite and agree that the Eels are being hard done by here, I think that tells you something, and it's almost about reading the room. If you're Peter V'landys, I would have preferred you said nothing at all than kind of come out and make these comments. Now, again, I need to stress that Peter V'landys is good for the game. He has done amazing things for the game and has exploded it beyond any of the capabilities that it would have without him. But in saying that, this was really disappointing to hear from him. And I really, really hope that we don't see him intervene now that we know his stance on the whole matter.
I don't get why he keeps commenting. I don't get why he feels the need to comment. Like, this for mine isn't with the NRL. Like, the thing that I don't like, and I'm with you, mate. I've been a massive PVL fan for so long. I actually came out and put a post out when he put this 10-year ban out, when so many were criticising him and saying, "Nah, this won't hold up." And I was saying, for the integrity of the game, I love the stance. Be harsher. Don't let them come back to the game. Don't give them a time frame. If they want to go and disrespect the game like this, so long. The first player that's done that, and the court documents have come out and said the other day that Lomax was talking and basically let him know and sign like a non-disclosure thing or something with R360. So he was going. He was literally gone if the comp kicked off. And to then come back, the first player you get a chance to, and not even be saying and sitting back to go, "Oh, we've already made our stance a few months ago about what we think here. We'll look at this after this court case perhaps and see if we reconsider. But for now, we're sticking strong with what we have to say." It's just extremely weak from a guy that's been so strong in so many other aspects of the game for so long, and he's probably been admired by many, even if sometimes he has been wrong. Just his strong stance, to be complete backflip within 2 months is just disgraceful. Like, it just, to me, shows an absolute sort of piss take in a way that players now can basically do as they please. I really don't get why he needs to comment. Just let this court stuff happen. Let it all see what is then given the verdict, and then if you need to come in, do so. But like, Lomax left last year to go to another code. He wanted to leave and said, and there's quotes about it, and the Eels have said it in their court documents, he didn't want to play rugby league anymore. He was over it. He wanted out. Why are we going and bending over backwards for a guy that didn't want to play this game any longer? Like, why does the NRL feel the need to straight away go, "No, we need the best players in our game"? He didn't want to be part of that. There's that many union codes out there he can go and play. There's no need.
I'm just going to read some quotes from Peter V'landys. I mean, it's exactly what he said, because I think we remember how strongly he spoke about this situation 6 months ago. Now he's come out and he said, "Look, it's always been my view that we keep our best players. Zac is a marquee player. He's an extraordinary player. Fine." Then he's shifted and said, "One thing people have forgotten here, and it's a little bit sad, is that he's a human being. Yes, he tried to look at another deal, and why would anyone knock a bloke that's trying to do the best for himself?" Right? I'm an old-fashioned guy where I believe a contract should be honoured. You sign a contract, you should honour it. But at the same time, I can see he's a young guy that's trying to set himself for life, and he looks at all opportunities. We all make mistakes. He's made a mistake in thinking, but let's not crucify him. That's a very different stance to what he took 6 months ago. Now, if your stance is that it's our job to have the best players in the game, which is what he said, fine. But then when you're almost showing sympathy towards the fact that he was just trying to do the best for himself, when 6 months you were hammering anyone that was trying to do the best for themselves, again, it's not weak from him as a person, but it's contradicting everything that he's laid down, and everyone applauded him for laying down these 10-year bans. Don't give him the 10-year ban, fine, but don't come out and back him in the sense, like, you've got to pick one way or another. If you can come out in the media and say, "Everyone, let's stop crucifying Zac Lomax and stop having a go at him," that's completely fine, because I think that people have gone overboard with their attacks towards him. And I say that as someone who's blocked by Zac Lomax for some reason. But Zac, like, at the end of the day,
I
like,
haven't even checked that. I probably am as well.
Hey, I'm the only NRL player to block me is Zac Lomax, which I'm not too sure why. But in saying that, he is a human being, and I think
I'm
that
not.
some.
I'm not. How haven't I been blocked?
Lucky you, mate, because I've been blocked. He is a human being, and some of the things that people are saying about him is absolutely disgusting. It's disgraceful. Let's not. And I'm behind Peter V'landys from that side of things, but you need to pick a side. So either he's a human being and stop crucifying him, or we all make mistakes. Let's get him back in the NRL. You can't do both. Now, I agree with him that we need to stop attacking him as a human being, but he did break the rule that you laid out. Now, you need to be strong enough and aware enough to follow through on that rule. It doesn't need to, the lines don't need to blur there. He can be a human being who we don't need to attack and still not let him back in the game or back him to sue his former club who have done absolutely nothing wrong. And I feel like Peter V'landys has tried to blend these two in hopes of pleasing everybody, but in reality, it's helped no one and done nothing. So, I'm
the funniest.
Yeah, go for it.
The court documents as well that's recently come out a couple of days ago suggested, or there's Parramatta's put forward things that they've got basically down pat to say that Zack Lomax actually entered agreements with the Melbourne Storm while still contracted with the Eels, which is a complete no-no in our books. Like you're not allowed to do that at all. That is highly illegal, so to speak, in our game. Where's PVL for that? Where is he talking when it comes to the proper integrity of the game, or he's just not going to discuss that? Is he going to finally wait till the court hearings finish to then talk about that, like he should have done with this? Like, it just feels like, and I know a lot of Parramatta fans have messaged me, and I've tried to steer clear of this thinking, but they're like, is it because it's us? Is it because it's the Eels? And there's been this thing back and forth for about 10 or 15 years now with the NRL and the Eels. It feels like that they go out of their way to make the Eels' lives difficult, it feels like. They haven't helped themselves, I get that, but it feels like whenever there's some big things that happen, the NRL always tries to find a way to basically just stick their finger up at the Eels. There's literally apparently documents to say Zac Lomax and the Melbourne Storm entered discussions while still a contracted Parramatta Eel before the request was even granted to leave the Eels. How that hasn't been dealt with so far or been spoken about, I think is horrible. That is so bad for our game and the integrity of it. And for PVL just to basically be on one side here, it feels like, I can get why supporters are so frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real shame. And if it was happening to my club, I would feel somewhat personally attacked. Now, obviously, that's not the case, but it does feel like that. In saying that, and we kind of said it, I said it a couple of weeks ago, I don't believe Lomax actually has much grounds to stand on, realistically. It's actually a very straightforward matter. In saying all of that, I actually would be excited to see him on the Melbourne Storm. I think he would do great there. It's just a matter of going about things the correct way. And unfortunately, the biggest voice, most important voice in our game, which is Peter V'landys, probably hasn't said the right thing here. I think it's best now to kind of leave things as is. And I need to stress, because what he has said about, attacking him as a human being, I'm with him absolutely. I think there's times where, especially on social media, we overdo it and we say things about people that realistically we don't know them as people. I'm sure Zac Lomax is a genuine human being. Like, Josh Addo-Carr came out a couple of weeks ago saying, that's my mate. Like, I back him. Like, as a human being and as a friend, I back him. That's fine. And I think he's correct that we need to kind of pull back on the personal attacks towards him as a person. But that's it. You can be disappointed with how he's handling his contract and how he's, his legal matters and this and that. And that's a complete separate issue. And I think that, the most important voice in our game has probably said the wrong thing here. So I'll be interested to see kind of what comes from this. But I wouldn't expect Lomax to be playing in the NRL till at least round 5 to round 10.
Let's hope. We do have to finish up. We've got a couple of questions, but just finally, I just wanted to read out quickly a quote from Matt Tripp in an article he did with Code Sports a couple of days ago. It's just not right. Every time we've made them an offer, being the Eels, to resolve this matter, they've leaked it to the press and grandstanded, another word that just come out of the blue, must be one of these new age things, by trying to make out we were being unreasonable. I think it's pretty unfair This is from a bloke who started talking to a guy that was contracted to an NRL club for another 3 years. A guy that's been negotiating, sending offers to club where we've both said it's okay to send offers, but while the Eels have said they want fair compensation, which they're entitled to do, Zac Lomax signed that contract to say you can't play with another NRL club for the next 3 years and was happy to do so when there was $2 million on the table. That's an outrageous comment. That is just absolute. It actually enrages me. I don't want to say much because I know there'll be some listening out there and they'll be taking it personal when it's not a personal thing. It's just any CEO that came out and said that with this situation, I would be all guns blazing at. Like that comment is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I can understand why. Yeah, that would incite a little bit of rage. I think we're seeing a situation where we're confusing desire with what's right. Now, a Melbourne Storm fan, a Melbourne Storm staff member, an official, a player would want Zac Lomax at that club. I get it completely. And I'm not going to harp on too much about this because it's similar to what I said before, but realistically, you can want something but understand that it's not being handled correctly. Now, this Melbourne Storm are the best, most well-run club in the NRL, period. I do not have another club that is run better, right? However, this is one of those rare occasions where, they did slip, and they have been slipping with this Zac Lomax thing. Realistically, they should have pulled back months ago. You don't need him that bad. You could have pulled back, right? It would have saved you the hassle and the energy. It would have saved you, burning a bridge essentially with Parramatta now, where there's awkwardness and this tension between the two of you. You can't do business. You can't do player swaps. There's going to be this tension between the pair of you now.
They need him more for 2027, to be fair, when Meaney goes.
Absolutely. And that's why this didn't actually need to be pushed this hard. Like you're looking at what they've got, like they've got young, outside backs coming through. You got like Hugo Peel and obviously Suafailongo that can slot in. Yep, there's another one. Like you've got a few that can slot in. You don't need Lomax this bad. A Storm team. What's that?
It was arrogant. It was.
Yeah.
It's a very arrogant play.
Yeah, and it's disappointing. But and as a Storm fan, you can want Zac Lomax and understand, okay, but is this really worth the hassle and the hype and the legal matters and the argument? No, it's not. From an objective point of view, it's not worth it, right? Yeah. Realistically, you can still negotiate to get Zac Lomax and have him by round 15. There is probably a ground there. But this is just blown way out of proportion to the point where it's like, okay, you don't need him that bad. You'll be fine. Like, you're the Melbourne Storm. It's okay.
Just chill out. You still got the best spine in the competition. Just chill out a little bit.
Yeah, no. So I think I don't agree with the comment. I understand, somewhat, but I think we're blurring desire with actual, morals and ethics. So you can want him at your club, but there's a right way to go about it, and this probably isn't.
Yeah, let's move on. We've got to finish up. We've got a couple of quick questions from our legends at the Legends Group. So obviously with our magazine that was released last week, the only way to access that is via the Legends Group. So $4.49 per month, guys. We've also got exclusive Supercoach content in there as well. You get access to basically Jesse and Trav 24/7, asking to dissect your team, help you out. They give little pointers each and every day, things like that as well. You get 20% off all League of Inches merch, also plus double entries into giveaways. We've got one coming up shortly. I'll just give you a little hint. It will be featuring 2026 team jerseys. So we do have one coming up, and you get double entries to win that. I think last year we ran about 10 or so giveaways, and I think 8 of those, 80%, was won by Legends thanks to that double entries. So it does pay for that. And $4.49 a month, that's literally cheaper than one coffee. And I guarantee everyone watching either buys themselves a coffee or an energy drink once a day. This is cheaper than that. So please, it does help us support the page as well massively. I know not everyone can afford it, but if you can, just from that support side of things, and for Isaac as well, he does a lot for us. Just to give back, please, we do appreciate it. If you can be a legend and get more involved with the page than ever.
You can help pay for a bit better Wi-Fi as well, because apparently my Wi-Fi has not been up to scratch.
I need to give Isaac some internet money, guys. So please get in and let's get him some internet. He's stitching up at the moment behind the scenes with his upload speed as well. We'll be on this. We'll be on this after this for about 3 hours. Who needs sleep? All right, let's go. Mark Brown. So are South now saying Keon Hu? Is this a good upgrade? Well, firstly, it's fantastic. It's the best upgrade possible. You've gone from losing Keon, and we spoke about it earlier, where you're down in the dumps, to then going, hang on, we've replaced him with Payne freaking Haas. And I can't. This is just. This is the most ultimate upgrade I've ever seen. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, you've gone from, and this is how I'd frame it. You've gone from replacing a top 5 middle in the NRL with a top 5 middle of all time. Like that's how, like that's a swap. You went top 5 middle of 2025 to a top 5 middle of life in general. Yes, this is Keon Hu. Absolutely Keon. I would not even Keon Hu, just Hu. This is like Keon would be completely out of my mind. You have got Payne Haas at your club. Once again, just hearing it again, we haven't spoken about it in about 45 minutes. Congratulations, South fans. No, this is a win and a major upgrade.
And both teams will be relying heavily on both of those boys for this year as well. Let's not forget about that. There's a massive job for both middles to do this year, where both clubs come into this year probably thinking they can win a competition this year as well. So Mark Brown sent another one. I know you will talk about it anyway, but how can you replace him? I'm happy for donkeys to go backwards, but that would sting. Thanks for your personal opinion. I love that. I love a bit of passion there. Obviously, yeah. We just said it then. There's really nothing on the market at the moment. It's going to be one of those ones where maybe they'll get someone early and then they'll sign them early for 2028 and then push hard for him to come next year. That sometimes happens, sometimes not. But the echelon that we're talking about, it's going to be very hard to get those players to come early because clubs basically revolve around those and make huge plans for those sorts of guys. So who knows? Like it's tough, man. Like, I don't know. We just went through it. Maybe it's worth us looking into it and doing a post over the next day or two about potentially some middles and where the Broncos can go. Don't forget, they've got T. Cura and Willison, so they can go in-house. Both really good options, really bright futures. I'm keen to see what Willison can do this year, but I do think they need to still recruit at least one to help them. They're still both very young for a couple of years to come. But yeah, that's my point of view, Isaac, on that one.
I'm probably the same, to be honest. There's not much. Yeah, there's not much left to do. We just went through kind of the middles that are on offer for 2027. There's absolutely zero chance of a player swap. An early release for either player. Now there would be if the Broncos were getting anyone, but they're not. If you're the Dragons, like if you offload a player to the Broncos and just do a 3-team swap, but realistically, why would you do that? You've got, you just wait a year and then get Keon. You don't really need to do that. So, no, there's no real silver lining here at the moment for the Broncos. You're just going to have to go in-house. In saying that, I just got up one, looking at 2026, one, forward that is also off contract is Cameron McInnes. That's one potentially. I forgot to mention him before. But again, no, there's no real silver lining here. The Broncos just going to have to cop it and just have to wipe their tears on their premiership trophy that they just got. So speaking of embarrassment of riches over at the Storm, Broncos, you're okay. It'll be fun.
Talking from an NRL point of view as well, just keep your hands off McInnes. I want him over at the Bears for the next couple of years to help build them up. Yeah. He's almost a must signing for them to help build them up. Last one from a Parramatta fan, Tyler Barton. Do you think if it were a different team that had released Lomax, the same treatment of backing him would apply? Or would the ban have been upheld? Again, we sort of basically already answered that and spoke about it a fair bit. But Isaac, do you want to have the final say, mate?
I know what you want to say. I don't think it has. I don't think it's a Parramatta thing. I think it's a you could argue it's a Sydney thing. Because Sydney teams and Sydney players have got. I'm well aware that Sydney teams and Sydney players have gotten maybe a little bit different treatment over in history, but maybe I'm naive. I don't think so. I think that Peter V'landys was going to do this either way. It's an interesting one for sure. But I'm probably going to stick to the side of perhaps maybe a bit of naivety and say no. I think he would have been the same either way.
Thank you again, Legends, for being part of our Legends group. We really do appreciate the further support. And if you can't afford it, guys, just make sure you're liking, subscribing, following on the social media platforms. It's all free ways to support both pages, Isaac_Issa, the journalist, as well. They're all free ways that go a long way, guys, of supporting. And give us a rating as well on the podcast. Give us a good 5-star rating, and it helps expand everything and reach new viewers and listeners as well. But that's it. I've way overbooked Isaac tonight. He's got to go to bed. I've got to upload this and get to bed myself. We will be back in a couple of days. That's crazy for us. We'll be talking again. Who knows what will happen? It feels like now Rugby League, the trial just happened. We're seeing some great little new talent coming through the grades there the other night. Tuesday, we'll talk about some of the teams being released. There'll be some talking points there, things like that. We'll be back into it. But I'm sure there'll be some news to talk about as well. So, Isaac, thank you very much, mate.
I'll say before we head off, just a quick little plug. Speaking of the youngsters that we saw over the weekend in the trials, and we'll get a little bit more into it in a couple of days. But for those of you who are kind of interested in the rising youngsters in rugby league, which I know a lot of you are, head over to espn.com.au. We got our first NRL big board covering all the best and brightest prospects in rugby league, ranking them from 1 to 30. So go over there, see who's kind of on the come up for your club, and show some support over there. It makes a big difference for myself, and it's going to be a real big boost. So head over to espn.com.au, or just type in NRL big board, and you'll just see the best and brightest prospects in rugby league. And it's very exciting, especially for those struggling clubs who maybe don't have too much, success to look towards in 2026. So you want to look towards the future. You'll see the best players for your club moving forward.
And just lastly, there was a bit of a personal announcement from yourself to the back end of last week. We haven't really got to talk about that, but huge congratulations, obviously, signing with ESPN. That is massive. That's I think a lot of people probably underestimated just how big that was. I went and actually looked at the post. There's a lot of comments on that, so well done. You thoroughly deserve it. I think it shows – I keep forgetting just how, in terms of social media space, how quick you've been onto the scene and the rise. It's been phenomenal. It shows what you're doing and how good you're doing it. The posts are fantastic. Just a really big congratulations, mate. I genuinely appreciate, first of all, the time you give to me and the page here, but also I know how hard you work your ass off. I know there's so many times where we're trying to work out a video at a time and you're like, I've got 40 minutes there and that's what I've got. And we're just, it gets to that at stages and you are just off your feet. I know you used to work literally day and night, guys. Like he would have to sleep for 3 or 4 hours and he'd be just still going. I don't know how he did it. I'm sort of doing similar at the moment and it's exhausting me after a week, but mate, really fantastic. It shows hard work pays off. You're killing the game. I keep saying it. Don't forget about us plebs down here. But keep smashing it. Well done, mate.
Thank you, mate. No, it's an absolute honor to be able to come on here and chat every time that I can. And it's going to be a really exciting year, and I'm super blessed and grateful for the the opportunities that I've got and the chances that I do to kind of come on here and share a little bit of mail and kind of continue building my name and alongside you as well. So no, I'm super grateful, obviously, to you, Joel, to everyone who kind of listens and checks in. Have people message and say, hey, I listened to you on the League of Inches podcast, which is really cool as well.
That's cool.
So the support that I guess your kind of fan base has shown me has been has not gone unnoticed. Every message, every DM, even just watching and listening and caring what I have to say means a lot. So thank you. And just prepare for a big 26. I'm very excited.
And thanks for those non-messages to me, guys. Everyone tells me after a League of Inches podcast, they all get messages and they get flooded with stuff. I get nothing. Just hit me up with a message, guys. Let me know you're listening. Just let us know. It's all good. I need some love. Give me some love, please. I need something. But anyway, guys, let's go. We're out of here. We'll see you again in a few days' time. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Sweet. South fans, continue that party.